Well, good morning, internet folks. I hope you're doing well. I'm currently getting set up to film a sunset. Should be a very nice one. Here in Canada, a couple provinces over, we have a big wildfire, which is very unfortunate. I'm so sorry, guys. But what that means for me is the sunset is going to be very, very red. And now I've been working on this review for a little bit. It is a review on the Canon 90D, which is this one, and the Canon R50, which is what you guys are watching right now. And it's early spring, so there's a lot of black flies. Wish me luck. The R50 is potentially a game changer. I mean, for vlogging at least. But it is, I believe, the lowest price point for a mirrorless camera that Canon has released. And it has a lot of great features. Now, the Canon 90D was released in 2019 and the R50 was released in 2023. Now, the recommended price of sale for the Canon R50 is right around $1,000, and if you want to get the Canon 90D, that's going to be about $1,400. So there is a little bit of a price difference there. And now, the first thing that I'm going to mention is the battery life, because, you know, I thought the battery life was bad on the Canon 90D until I got the R50. Like, in all honesty, I can really only get through one video with the R50, and that's being kind of gracious. Like, shooting in 4K on the R50 absolutely destroys it. And now this downfall is actually quite common from what I understand among smaller cameras, especially mirrorless cameras. Now, battery life is a bit of a difficult one. It's a balancing act between the battery size and the capacity of the battery. I mean, everyone wants smaller and smaller batteries, and now that we have that set up, we're gonna be shooting a sunset on the Canon 90D with the time-lapse mode. I mean, look at the smartphones. They are advertising all-day battery with OLED or super sharp screens. It kind of sucks that this issue still prevails. I mean, it isn't an easy fix. As batteries have been getting better and better and being able to supply more power, we keep updating the amount of processing that we fit into these cameras, and that's a really easy way to drain your battery. Now, the size of the R50 is riding the fine line between a good size and too small. Sorry, the black flies were getting a bit ridiculous. As I was saying, the Canon R50 is riding the line between just big enough and too small. As you can see here, there's a full hand sausage hanging off of this camera. Here is the Canon 90D for comparison. It has plenty of room for all of those little piggies that you got. But the Canon R50 is the perfect size for vlogging, which I didn't know I would ever be needing. Like, when I started my YouTube journey, I didn't know that I'd be needing a full-fledged vlogging camera. I thought it was just gonna be me in the bush shooting pictures of wildlife. But here I am, spending $1,200 on a vlogging camera so that I can better film myself, showing you guys how to film birds better. It's a crazy world we live in. Like, me at least. You fine internet folks probably don't live in the same delusion as I do, but it's pretty fun here. I mean, it's great. I have the belief that one day I will be able to live off of making videos and teaching you guys how to get better wildlife footage. That I can maybe make a living off of making videos on the internet, taking pictures and videos of wildlife. And maybe one day, with your guys' help, I can achieve that. So, shameless plug time. Subscribe down below. And if you guys do feel ever so inclined and you like my videos, then feel free to visit my website and maybe pick something up for yourselves. On that note, in your comments, and I try my best to read all of them. The first thing I want to dive into is acknowledging that this is a little bit of a match between mirrorless and DSLRs. Now, I know I'm a little bit late to this discussion, but I didn't have a YouTube channel back then, let alone any access to cameras. But let's do a little quick Google search on how DSLR cameras actually work. Oh, would you look at that? I actually made a video about this already. You can watch it right here. The main difference between a DSLR and a mirrorless camera, a quick rundown of how a DSLR works, is a DSLR uses the lens to focus the incoming light into a conversion point, in which a mirror turns this image up into a prism, and then into your eye looking through this viewfinder. When you hit that button, this mirror flips up for a split second, which blocks your view of what you are taking a picture of. The mirror flipping up allows the light to go through and expose the sensor. A mirrorless camera, like the Canon R50, like the name suggests, does not have this mirror. So it goes directly from the convergent point into the sensor all the time. Now, what are some of the benefits to a mirrorless camera? Silent shooting. Silent shooting is still a little bit unnerving for me, as when you press the shutter button, you should hear a sound. But when you're silent shooting, you don't. It just feels like you're missing something crucial to taking pictures. Like, where's that little click sound? Why isn't it there? Again, I want to relate back to smartphones. And I know I keep bringing it up, but they are such a crucial part of our lives that I feel like it's relevant. Smartphones, even though that they have no mirror to flip up or shutter to move down, they still take that picture. When they take a picture, they still have the shutter sound. And that's played throughout your speaker. It serves no purpose other than humans are creatures of habit, and they want to hear the same familiar sounds. High-end sports cars are starting to do the same. As we are moving towards electric cars, they are now putting engine sounds through the speakers, which I think is great. That's a great way to update your engine. You know, you want a turbo sound, you can just add that in there. Faster shooting. Now, with mirrorless cameras, you can get a lot faster shooting because there isn't that mirror flipping up and down. You are just instantly reading that sensor. So the only thing limiting how fast you can take these pictures is processing power. Readout speed is the overall technology that we need to process these pictures faster and to move them over to the SD card. And that's why we still have buffers. So you can take faster and faster pictures when you have faster readouts and a faster SD card that allows you to clear that buffer much quicker. They have a smaller size. Now, I think it's a pretty overall it is a good thing that these cameras are starting to shrink. And why they are allowed to shrink is because they don't have to make room for that mirror that's flipping up and down. Because again, it doesn't have the mirror inside of it. Using the sensor and electronic viewfinder cuts out all of the room that you need for the mirror and prism. Now that you don't need the mirror and prism, it takes up drastically less space. Shorter flange distance. Now the EF lineup is fantastic. It is amazingly built out, but these lenses are starting to age. They are less sophisticated than these new RF lenses that are coming out. And that's not the lens's fault or the designers who built the EF. They were restricted by the mount. They were doing the best that they could with the mount that they had. When these lenses came out, they were the cutting edge of EF technology. Now it's time for us to move into the world of RF lenses. And with that comes shorter flange distances. But hold on, I might hear you say, what the heck is a flange distance? For an interchangeable lens camera, the flange focal distance, or FFD, also known as flange to film distance, depending on the usage and source of a lens mount system, is the distance from the mounting flange, the interlocking metal rings on the camera and rear of the lens, to the film or image sensor plane. Okay, so basically, you see that gap between the mounting ring of the lens and the ring close to the sensor? That's the flange distance. And now, why is it better to have a smaller gap between them? A bigger mount can let in more light. Not only that, but a shorter flange distance allows lenses to be placed closer to the sensor, which in itself allows the lens manufacturers to start building simpler, smaller, lighter, and less expensive short focus lenses instead of the retro focus types. Now that we've been talking up the mirrorless cameras, let's take them down a notch and kind of level it out. The cons for a mirrorless camera, as I mentioned, is the lower battery life. Because the sensor is constantly being read out and going to the EVF, this is constantly draining on the battery. DSLRs save so much power because you are looking through an optical view, through the prism, bouncing off the mirror, out the lens. There is no electricity being used when you are just sitting there looking. Whereas with mirrorless cameras, you are. If you see anything in a mirrorless camera, your battery is being drained. The very technology that pushes us forwards also hold us back when it comes to battery life. It's a different lens mount. Now, this is a bit of a two-call. The fact that this is a new lens mount means that they're having to redesign a lot of their old lenses that they used to have in the EF lineup, which unfortunately means the RF lineup is not as well built out as the EF lineup. Canon does have a fantastic roadmap planned, so hopefully within a couple of months or unfortunately years, the RF lineup will be amazingly built. If not the same caliber as EF, potentially higher. The initial cost of these camera bodies are a lot higher. Because it's still a relatively new technology is always more expensive when it first comes out. But as it starts to get older and companies figure out cheaper and cheaper ways to manufacture them, then we start to get cheaper prices on these cameras. But for now, the initial cost of mirrorless cameras is still quite high, especially when you are comparing it to used DSLRs, which is an entire different conversation by itself. Because the market for used DSLRs is much higher than used mirrorless cameras, as they're still relatively new. From what I've seen, Canon is starting to make more specific cameras. The R50 is just for vlogging. The R10 is for sports and wildlife. The Canon 90D is kind of a jack of all trades, which is why it costs more than the R50, because it's capable of doing more than the R50. But if you don't need those features, why are you going to pay more? So Canon is starting to really make specific cameras for specific tasks. So before you buy a camera now, you need to figure out what you are going to be using it for. That is the end of today's video about my two beautiful Canon cameras that I own. I hope that you guys really liked it. Which camera would you guys buy? Let me know down in the comments. And don't forget to comment if you want a chance to win one of the sweaters. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you fine internet folks next Tuesday morning. If you want your pet or wildlife footage at the end of my videos, along with a shout out, send your videos to me down below. I would love to show them with everyone. Hey, this is Editor Derek, and I forgot to sneak in the sunset I was talking about, so here it is right now. I hope you enjoy. Thank you again, and I will see you fine internet folks